Yeah, let's get started with the introduction to ASP.NET. Okay, so before we start ASP.NET, we should discuss what is server side scripting and client side scripting. Okay, so am I audible? Voice is clear? Uma? Screen is share.
Yes, sir.
Everything is fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's discuss server side scripting and client side scripting. So before we start ASP.NET, we should have the knowledge of what is server side script and what is client side script. Like what is server side script means excuse me, the code which runs on web server is called a server side script. Okay, and in a simple terms, client side script means the code which runs on browser is called as client side script. Like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these all comes under client side scripting technologies, whereas ASP.NET, PHP, JSP, Java Server Pages, okay, and Ruby on Rails, these are all comes under Node.js. These are all comes under server side script. So we should know what is server side script and client side script, difference between two, and advantages and disadvantages of both of them. We should know, because when you go for development, web application development, real time environment, we have to use both client side script plus server side script together. So we cannot make an application with only server side script. Okay, so that is the reason we should have knowledge on both of them together. So let's get started. So we are going to discuss what is server side scripting, client side scripting, features and pros and cons. So let's see what is server side scripting first of all. So server side scripting involves code that is executed on the web server before the content is sent to the client's browser, okay, or client's web browser. So whenever you made a request from your computer, like what we do if you want to watch any website or see any content on internet, what we do first, we will open a browser. So generally what we do, let's open Word document. So we are doing a request first, right? So when you make a request to any web application, what happens is the client will make a request. This request is going through something called URL. You are typing a website, web reference, that is said to be website name URL, like www.gmail.com, something like that you are typing. So when you type that URL and hit enter, it will go to a server, and server will send response back to the client. So who is client here? Client is nothing but a browser. Okay, so it's nothing but a browser. Browser means you can use any browser like Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Opera or Safari, whatever browser you like, you can use it. Okay, that is a debug browser. You are making request by typing URL and hit enter. Then it will be going to somewhere called server. So what is this server? Server can be any web server. Okay, so that server is going to respond to your request. Okay, whatever request you made, first it will process the request. If the request is valid, then it will give response back to the client. Okay, so whatever is coming back from the server is called as response. So it will give response back to the client. So what are we making is called as request. Just we are typing some URL, right? That is called as request you are making. Request through URL you are making a request that will be processed on the server, and the response will come back to client machine. Okay, so in which format it will come? It will come in HTML format. So that is called as rendering format. Okay, so server and client, how the client and server will communicate with each other. So in every web application, irrespective of the technology, it might be a Java web application or a .NET web application or a PHP web application, or it can be a Python web application. So irrespective of the technology, so first what we are doing, we are making a request through browser of your choice. Browser can be anything, or might be default browser, whatever you have in your machine. You are making a request, then it will be going to server will take the request whatever is made by the client, process it, and it will give a response back to the client. The response can be anything. It may be the result, successful result, or sometimes if the result is not there, or if it is any, the page is not available, it will say 404 exception, right? Have you seen 404 exception? Uma, have you seen that 404? Sometimes when you are making a request for any URL, any website,
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
you will
Yes,
get a
sir.
message 404 means resource not.
Not found error.
Yeah,
Hmm.
resource not found means the respective web page is not available, or you made a spelling mistake. Sometimes we may, we want to give home dot aspx page. I wanted to get by mistake. I said HOMA dot HTML or ASPX, something like that. Then it will search for the page. Since the spelling is wrong, the page is not available. It will give you 404 exception. That is said to be response. So whatever response is coming from the server, that will be seen by the user who is working on the browser. So we are all using browsers. So here the client is browser here. Who is server? Server is a software. It can be like web servers. Generally, examples of web servers, if you see, like can be IAS web server. So let me give you examples of these servers. Like client browsers means you can use anything like Google Chrome, as I said you. Okay, these are all you can use. Google Chrome, Firefox. One second. Okay, so you can use any browser. Coming to servers means you can have any server like servers can be IAS server, Internet Information Services. That is what the server we use in our ASP.NET. And if you go to other technologies like those guys, Java people will use Apache Tomcat web server, and some people will use something like there are so many other web servers like JBoss. Java people only will use JBoss. Okay, and there is something called WebLogic, WebSphere. There are so many web servers actually. So those can be used by different technologies. Okay, so and in MVC we use a web server called Kestrel server. So like this, there are so many web servers available to process your web application and give you a response according to the request made by user. Okay, so coming to the topic, what is server side scripting? The script which is running or executing on the web server before the content is sent to the browser. So before we send response to the browser, whatever content whatever code we want to execute, that code is nothing but server side script. Okay, so the server processes the request and performs action like accessing databases and generates dynamic content that is then sent to the client. So what server side script will do is it will process the request given by user, perform actions like accessing database. Sometimes from the web server, it may go to any database server, get the data from the table, and then it will generate the dynamic content that is then sent to the client. So why it is said to be dynamic content? For example, you are giving your email id, like your email id at gmail.com, and you are giving password and click on login button in Gmail. So it will go to Gmail server which is in US, and then it will come back with the response with your inbox. Coming to that is said to be dynamic content. If I give my email ID, my password in Gmail, I will get my inbox with my emails and all. So both of us are working on a single application called Gmail, but our contents are different from each other. That is said to be dynamic content. So your inbox is different, my inbox is different, your sent mails may be different, my sent mails may be different. So like that, that is whatever the content is given for the customer or user separately, a different user for different inbox will come. This is called as dynamic content. Okay, so that is said to be server side script. So examples of server side scripting like ASP.NET, PHP, Python, Django, Flask, these are said to be server side scripting tools in Python, like frameworks, Django and Flask. Coming to Ruby on Rails, okay, ROR, that is also one of the examples. And Java, Spring or Spring Boot, whatever people are using, those are also examples of server-side scripting. And Node.js. Node.js is, yeah, it will be used in mean stack and merge stack. So these are said to be the examples of server-side scripting. So we are going to learn ASP.NET now. So that is the reason we should have the knowledge of server-side script and client-side script together, because they might ask you in interview, what is ASP.NET? Then your answer would be ASP.NET is a server-side scripting technology. So that is the answer you need to see. So what is server-side scripting technology means? So that is what we are discussing now. The code, whatever you are writing, the script which is executed on the web server before the content is sent to the browser. Okay, so that is what all about server-side script. So now we are talking about something called client-side script. So what is client-side scripting means? Like, so the code whatever you write, which is executed on the user's browser, web browser means, as I told you, something like Firefox I'm using, or I'm using Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome or Opera, whatever browser you're using. The code is completely running in client machine, means that is nothing but in the browsers, in browsers environment only it is getting executed. That is called as client side scripting. And this code is typically used for UI interactions, user interface interactions, form validation. So form validation means like when you are not filling form completely, there are some mandatory fields are there out of, suppose I have 10 fields on my registration form, out of which 5 fields are mandatory. So those mandatory fields, if you skip, you will get some error messages. Like it will say that star marked fields are mandatory. Those are said to be form validations. Okay, sometimes when you are filling mobile number, suppose if you give 9 digits in a mobile number instead of 10 digits, you'll get an error message. So that is called as what you call form validations, and enhancing the user experience without needing to reload the page. So the client side scripts need not go to server every time. So if you want to do any changes, depends upon the user's input, the code is getting changed inside the browser itself without reloading the page from the server again. So that is how client side script works. So that client side script is always faster than server side script, because it is getting executed in the browser's environment, browser's memory only. Okay, that is all about client side script. So what are the examples of client side scripting? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are all the examples of client side scripting. I hope you have knowledge on HTML, right, Uma?
Yes, sir.
HTML, yeah. So HTML is to create a static web pages. So if you want to create any static web page, like I want to display same information to all the users. Then we will create some HTML pages, and you can use CSS or JavaScript to make it more dynamic and interactive. So like that, you can create a website with these three technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Of course, you may use Bootstrap to make it more responsive. Like though you are using any gadget, the customer might use a tablet or mobile or laptop, whichever screen they are using, irrespective of the dimensions. If you want to make it dynamic or responsive, then you can go for Bootstrap technology. So by using all these JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, if you develop a website, that is called as static website. Okay, so it will show the same content to each and every user that the user is visiting to to our website. Same content will be visible to all the users. That is said to be static website. Okay, so yeah, so these are the examples of client side scripting. Let's look at the features of server side script. So when you go for server side script like ASP.NET or PHP or JSP, all these things, so we have something called data processing. So what is data processing? It handles complex tasks like database queries, file operations, and data processing. Okay, like if you want to store data from our application into database, then we can make use of server side script. But client side script cannot do that. Client side script is only for taking user input and do some validations and all, but it cannot store it permanently in the database. So if you want to store the data or data processing and storing data or file operations, like you want to create any file with the content or with the input given by user, okay, sorry, you want to download any file, all these operations can be done with the server side script. And then security. So, so server side script is always secured because it is running on the server machine and not exposed to the client. So whatever code you're writing in HTML, like HTML tags you're writing in a notepad, or you may use any ID like VS Code and all. Once you type the code, save it and run it, it will be running in a browser. But the problem with the client side script is, if you right click on the browser and if you say view page source, or if I say view source, so whatever code is written by you can be seen by the client, so that there is no security. The client can copy paste the code and they may edit the code if they want to edit in their they can copy paste, they can create a new web page like your page, and they can do changes also. So that is how client side script is not secure. But coming to server side script, though you have written C sharp code in ASP.NET to display some dynamic content, it will display the output. But whatever output you are watching, you can see the output of the page, but you cannot see the source code written for the particular ASP.NET web application. So that is how it is secured. Okay, so coming to the dynamic content. So what is dynamic content? So it generates dynamic web pages on the user inputs and other factors. As I told you, so if you give your email ID and password, you will get your own inbox and your own emails and sent items. Coming to my email ID, I'm giving ID password. I will get my own content and my own inbox and sent email like that. So that is how dynamic content can be generated for each and every user with the help of server side script. These are the features. And coming to the next best feature of server side script is state management. So what is state management means? When you fill any data using any server side script, what happens is, uh, it can be any type of technology. It may be client side or server side, whatever technology. When you fill the form on the web page in a browser, and if you click on submit, once the data is submitted to the server, whatever data you're typing in the you're filling in the form will be sent to the server through HTTP protocol. So that HTTP protocol is a stateless protocol. Stateless protocol means whatever you're typing, that will not be stored, or it cannot be coming back once it is submitted to the server. But I wanted to keep the data for a few minutes or few seconds. I want to keep it for some time and then I want to reuse it, means it is not possible. But because of state management techniques, like we have different in ASP.NET, we have client side state management and server side state management. Two types of state management techniques are available. With that, you can maintain the state application state over multiple client requests. So as I said, you once you submit again, if you want to second request also, you want to keep the data for a while, then you can make use of state management techniques. Like we can use cookies, sessions, and we can use something like query string, view state. There are so many state management techniques we will use. With that, we can maintain the state of a web application, which is not possible in a client side scripting. Coming to server load, increases the load on the server, since all the processing is done on the server. So when you write more server side script, obviously it's a drawback actually. The load on the server will be increased because so many users are there. Suppose one website like Gmail will be used by so many millions of users every day, right? So obviously it is having more load on the server. Okay, so for that what they will do is they will use some features like load balancing and all, because they want to keep on different same application, they will keep on different servers, so that if the load is increased on one server, then the request will be going to some other server, like that. Okay, so these are the advantages: security, okay, sensitive data and operations are exposed to the client. Not it will not be exposed to the client, so that it is secure. Compatibility. The server handles different browsers and client environments, ensuring consistent delivery of content. So irrespective of the browser, is irrespective of the client environment, so it will give the consistent delivery of data to all the clients, so that it is compatible with all the browsers. So there is no issue with any browser. Okay. So coming to the next, powerful processing. So server side script is always powerful. It can do powerful processing, like by handling complex logic operations and many resource intensive tasks it is able to do. Okay, like to download any file from the server to client. Okay, to send any data from huge volumes of data, if you want to send like a video or audio content, all are possible by server side scripting. Okay, coming to the drawbacks now. So latency means additional server requests can slow down response times. That is what I told you. When the number of requests are more, obviously there is more load on the server, and that in that case, people will go for different, servers to maintain that, handling to handle multiple requests from multiple clients. Okay, that increases the cost of the application actually. So the cost of the application will be increased, in the sense we need to maintain another server, right? Definitely the price will be increased to the company itself. So scalability, high server load can impact performance. Definitely performance will be decreased, requiring more robust server infrastructure. That's what I'm saying, cost effective. So if you are using, if your application is used by many clients many a times, like throughout the day the application is being used, means definitely it will be cost effective. And client side script features, if you see, so user interaction is very high. Okay, like whatever user interaction you are doing, like clicking on the button. Okay, when you are closing the browser, it will ask you, are you sure you want to close all the windows? Okay, like that it will ask you, right? These are all said to be user interactions. So clicking on the button, mouse movements, like if I move mouse towards any image, I'll get some alert or some pop-up kind of thing. So how do we get these pop-ups and alerts? Means these are coming from client-side script like JavaScript and all. Sometimes when you can press any key, also if you want to respond, to the end user, then also you can make use of client-side script like JavaScript. And immediate feedback provides instant feedback to the user actions without waiting for a server response. So since it is client side script, right, where it is running, it is running on the browser. So when it is running on the browser, it doesn't wait for the server response, but server side script wait for server response. The server is not giving any response, obviously it is unable to give any message. But client side script is not like that, it will give instantly from the browser itself, so that it is faster. And dynamic content update can update parts of the web page dynamically without reloading an entire page. That is possible with ajax technology. So ajax stands for asynchronous javascript and xml actually. So what this ajax will help you is, if you are doing any changes in your web page or web form, so depends upon the input, the content I wanted to change instantly me without going back or reloading the whole page, means you can make use of ajax actually. Like you are conducting any poll from uh, or any poll kind of poll means, like you are giving two options. So which technology is widely used by developers in our companies, IT companies, like python and java, .NET, like that you have given three options. Then people are selecting any one of these three and they are clicking on submit. Then you want to see how many votes for java, how many votes for python, how many votes for .NET, like that you want to show. So in that case, if you want to refresh only that particular area without reloading the whole page, you can make use of Ajax technology. Okay. So coming to the browser execution. So where the execution is happening, since the client side is script is running in client's machine, browser's machine, browser only. So it will reduce the load on the server. That is why instead of writing the whole code on server side, developers will write some set of code, operations in client side script, and major like interaction with the database, okay, storing data in the database, getting data from server and all these they will use server side script. Remaining operation like validations of mobile number, email id, all this stuff they will be writing in a client side script, because it will run faster. It will reduce the burden on the server itself. So coming to the other advantages of client-side script, reducing the server load, as told you, uh, it offloads the processing to the client's browser, reducing the server resource usage. So it will not go to server for every small request made by user, because it is running on the browser's machine, client's browser, so that it is faster. Coming to the user experience will be enhanced because it provides more responsive and interactive user experience. So user will feel that it is, he or she will get instant response, so that they feel that it's coming very quickly. That is said to be, responsive and more interactive experience. Reduce latency. Okay, what is latency? More server burden, right? That will be reduced. So immediate execution on the client side, reducing the need for server round trips. So we need not wait for server's response for every small actions that you are doing on the application, like you are doing calculations, some an instant calculator you prepared on the browser web page, where user is typing something like some numbers, clicking on plus minus like that, and click on is equal to, or watch, see the result, something like that. Then you need not go for server side script for that. So you can write javascript code in order to do that kind of calculations and all, because that is happening on the client machine, doesn't need to store data. We are just doing some calculations, right? For that we need not go for server side script. So in that way, we are reducing the latency. Coming to the drawbacks of client-side script. Excuse me. The client-side script involves more security risk, because the code exposes to the client, right? So that client can see the code written by the developer. That is the main drawback of client-side script. So it may leads to like code index injection attacks, like people can do by seeing the code, they can write their own code, they can modify the code, and they can inject their own code to hack your page. There might be possibilities. That is why client side scripts are not recommended when you are writing any serious or important data. If you are transferring, they will never write in a client side script, though it is possible to write, but they will avoid, because it might be the client can see the code written by developer, and they can modify if required. Okay, that is the reason it is not secure. Browser dependency. Some browsers, actually nowadays there is no browser dependency, but sometimes I think you have faced this when you are running in your development time. like some urls may not show the output on chrome or Microsoft Edge. So if it is not working on Edge, we will go to Chrome and we will test it, then it will work sometimes. That is said to be browser dependency. Have you seen it, Uma? Sometimes when you are working, you know, some urls will not give results in one browser, but if you run the same url in another browser, you will get it. Have you
Yes, sir.
seen this
Yes.
anytime?
Yes. Yes, sir.
That is said to be browser dependency. So actually, there is
Okay.
no issue with your code, but browser is not able to respond to your code. Sometimes you may write some obsolete code or outdated functions you may use by mistake. So those will not be understandable by latest browsers. So in that case, we will be changing any other browser so that it will work. That is HTTP browser dependency. Limited resources, and limited by client's device capabilities and performance. So when you are running any client side script, so because it is running on the client machine, it completely uses the client's memory. Depends upon the system speed, laptop speed, and all, it will run. So if the client device is slow, definitely your response or your output will also be slow. Okay, that is also drawback of client side script. Let's see the differences between client side script and server side script. Feature wise, you can see the feature here, like where this server side is script is getting executed, execution location. So server side script runs on web server, but coming to client side script, it will run on client's browser machine, browser application, nothing but Google Chrome or Firefox, all these things. Coming to common languages, what are the languages used? Server-side script languages means PHP, ASP.NET, Python, Ruby on Rails, Java means Spring Boot, all these technologies. Coming to client-side script, as I told you, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these all jQuery, these are all comes under client-side scripting. Coming to processing, so what kind of processing will be used in server-side script? Means complex data processing, database access, for all these complex data processing and all, we use server-side script. Coming to client-side script, UI interactions and UI updates, we will use it. Security is more secured in server-side script, but less security available in a client-side script. And latency, as I said, it involves so much of server-side load executing on server-side, right? So latency is more due to multiple round trips to the server and client. But here very less. Client-side scripting is always having less latency, so that it is faster. Server load increases with complexity and reduced handled by client. So less server load is there if you use client side script. Okay, and user experience depend upon server response time. So if server is faster, then the user experience will be faster. But here it doesn't depends upon server, right? So that it is always interactive and responsive. Coming to compatibility, it's uniform content delivery. There is no dependency because it is completely running on server, right? So there is no compatibility issues. Coming to client side script like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, definitely depends upon the browser. As I said, if browser is supporting that content, it will execute perfectly. If it is not supporting, obviously you will not get the output correctly, or it may be slower sometimes. So these are the differences between server side script and client side script. So summary, if you see, server-side script is essential for the complex tasks, complex data processing, data management, security and all. Whereas client-side script is crucial for dynamic and responsive user interface. Okay, user actions like client-side data validation. For all UI updates should be happening on your browser, depends upon the user input, means we go for something called client side script. Both approaches are often used together to leverage the strengths of each and every. So we have to use both of them together, guys. We cannot develop a website without a dynamic website cannot be developed without using client side script. So we have to use both of them. That is what here is saying. Like we need to use them together because we need to make use of both the advantages we need to enjoy, like strengths of each technology, each server side and client side we need to use. Okay, That's all about the server side script and client side scripting technologies. So ASP.NET comes under server side script. So that we have seen all of them. Tomorrow we will see what is ASP.NET and how to create ASP.NET web application in Visual Studio. So what is ASP.NET page lifecycle? All these things we'll discuss tomorrow. So any questions, Uma?